As the Marvel Cinematic Universe retools in the wake of the Marvels, the Disney company is moving all of their Disney-branded theatrical productions out into June of next year. Meanwhile, Disney Plus still has this Ekko series that's coming out January 10th. It was supposed to come out earlier. There are rumors of all kinds of interesting things coming off of the set. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. I am Jonas J. Campbell, and I am an investigative reporter here for That Park Place. I'm also the host of every single video that you see on this channel. But with me today, I've got a surprising new star. John from Cinepark Rangers has been helping out on the channel, and he is an expert on comics and also has a great eye for video production. John, you've done great in your segments on the channel, and we even had you on That Park Place Live. Yeah, first of all, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Maybe a little slap happy. Maybe we're hitting it a little too hard and not getting enough sleep here. But
I get that.
yeah, when you rush things out, you might end up with a few quality problems. Am I talking about me, or am I talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe? It looks like
Who's to
Ekko,
say?
the long-awaited. When I say long-awaited, it seems like they delayed this thing several times. Ekko will be coming out here in January. And I've jokingly referred to this character as a reverse Daredevil because I didn't know who she was before Hawkeye. You are much more of an expert than I am on this character. Can you tell us a little bit about Ekko and why she's different from a lot of the initiatives that we've seen at Marvel in recent years?
Yeah. So Ekko's a character that's existed since 1999. Her first appearance actually was in a Daredevil comic, and the history is interesting, and even sort of the way that they did it in the MCU is interesting, just kind of based on how the character's history has gone in the comics and that sort of thing. There's a few things that I'd like to get into with this discussion probably, but we can kind of meander and go wherever it needs to. But just to give you some backstory on Ekko, so Maya Lopez is essentially a character whose dad was partners with Kingpin, and eventually Kingpin whacks the dad and adopts Maya as his own, frames somebody else. She eventually finds out, oh, it was Kingpin, and then she turns on him, actually through Kingpin having her go after Matt Murdock. So there's like all this back and forth, right? In the Hawkeye show, the narrative is that the Ronin killed her dad, and obviously Clint Barton is the Ronin in the MCU, and I mean has been in the
Spoiler
comics as
alert.
well. Spoilers, yeah. Sorry if you haven't watched Hawkeye. It's been
or Endgame.
2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, at any rate, so that's sort of the backstory on the character. There's a few different versions. Actually, just researching the character a little further, she's been the Phoenix before, which I thought was extremely interesting. Like,
as in the X-Men Phoenix?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And has telepathic powers. My guess would be that comes from like the Phoenix stuff. But generally speaking, her like fighting style and all these sorts of things. You said reverse Daredevil. It kind of in a way. She's deaf instead of blind, and sort of the thing that Kingpin had her do was I don't know if it was him who like noticed this first, or if it was just something that like maybe he noticed along the way, but he started putting her in like martial arts classes and in like ballet classes and in music classes, and she has the ability to perfectly replicate anything that she sees. So that's
like Taskmaster?
Like Taskmaster, but it's less about the fighting. It's not isolated to fighting style, I think is sort of the difference, if you will.
So like she's an echo of someone of something else she sees.
Exactly. And I guess there are also versions of her where she does have enhanced strength and all those sorts of things, which would check out a whole lot more. And actually, funny enough, in the comics there's at least a version of this character that also shoots Kingpin in the eye, like in the face, and he loses an eye or whatever. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like those things that felt at the time of watching that a little bit out of place within the Hawkeye show were fairly faithfully comic, accurate, however you want to put it. So all that is interesting to say the least. But yeah, the show was originally, and as far as I understand it, was going to probably just follow the normal track that these Disney Plus Marvel shows have followed, which is, like an episode a week, or maybe like you get the first two and then an episode a
Hmm.
week after that. And somewhere along the way, like a few months back, they were like, we're just going to drop all of it in January, which before the trailer came out, I was like, okay,
Right,
like
right.
it
Well,
kind of
the
like
yeah,
whatever.
to talk about that, this is more in my wheelhouse, the different strategies on streaming from a business standpoint. When Disney Plus came around and decided to do once a week for all of their shows, two things that this did. First of all, it had everybody talking about The Mandalorian. So every week there was a little bit more revealed. Instead of everything dumping at once and everybody saying, "Hey, did you watch The Mandalorian?" And
Hmm.
then 2 weeks later, nobody is talking about it. Now when they have a show that everybody is watching, this is a great system for building up anticipation. You have people checking out the service on a more frequent basis. And also, if you're on an ads tier, which Disney wasn't at the time, it gives you more opportunities for people to go back and rewatch episodes and build up the excitement and the water cooler, and it generally is a good thing for the company. Netflix tried it a couple of times since then. Obviously, they're a little. Netflix does a better job of releasing content on a more regular basis because they aren't
Hmm.
tied to only 4 IPs. Also, they have um, it's much less of a risk for them to spend a lot of money on a show because they have a very wide user base and a higher price point. So
Yep.
with all of the Marvel shows so far, they haven't released a lot all at once. I think the only exception might be the I Am Groot shorts, which they might have released those in close proximity. And now they're even releasing What If. They're not releasing What If over a stretched out period of time. They're releasing it from the 22nd of
Hmm.
December, so a couple of days from now, because this is coming out this afternoon. Um, from the 22nd until whenever they run out, which might be the 25th. I don't know how many episodes they've come through.
I think it
They're
was like
doing
4 or 5. Saw the same
one
thing.
a
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Thought that
with
was cool.
yeah, I think it's interesting, and this is all really good when everyone's excited about what's coming on and everyone loves what you're doing. Then no one's annoyed by these release strategies at all.
Hmm.
And if you come in from a cynical viewpoint, then yes, it's annoying and Disney bad and all that mess that we're always accused of. If it's good, no one cares, right?
That's the
So
truth.
with Echo, they talked about the fact that they were going to do Loki season 2, one episode at a time, once a week. They only had 6 of them, and they pushed it right up to the same week that Ahsoka was there. So
Mhm.
hopefully, transitioning that Ahsoka audience onto the Marvel audience. And now, at the end of it, at the same time, they announced that they were going to release Echo all at once. And by the way, 4 to 6 episodes. Not that much. I don't think there's that many of episodes of Echo coming out.
Yeah, I think it's 6 if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's 5.
Yeah,
And
I think it's a shorter amount.
yeah,
So
yeah, it
when
was small.
and also on Disney Plus, they don't stick to that standard 22 minutes for a half hour or 45
Right,
minutes for a what would be a
right.
1 hour show. So they they have a lot more trouble sticking these things on network television if they decide to do that.
Yeah.
So to me, I took that as a bad sign for Echo that maybe they didn't think they would get a lot of interest here. Alakwa
Mhm.
Cox, forgive me, I'm probably going to mispronounce that name. The actress who plays Echo, um, combining that with the fact that she's often said that they emailed her out of the blue and she was not an actress, and they said, "Hey, we want you to come in and read for this part of a disabled, as in." Forgive me, I'm going to be extra careful here to make sure I say this correctly. That she's hard of hearing, and also that she is an amputee. She might not be an amputee. She does have a prosthetic limb, and also that she has a Native American heritage. And so
Yes.
they viewed all of these characteristics here and said, "We want you for this role." And then combined with the with the continuous delays in the show, and also that there were rumors coming out that things were not going well on the set, I was starting to dread that this show was going to be really bad. Now, that being said, Loki season 2, I think Loki season 2 came out pretty good. There were still solid performances in that show.
Mhm.
I still didn't connect with Jonathan Majors. May his career rest in peace. Um, Victor Timely. I saw the accent more than I saw the characterization more than I saw a character. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
when we get to Ekko, though, I don't know how this is going to go. I think this is a big risk for Marvel, and I think that they see the big risk because the story here is that they are moving this to the Spotlight banner. Um, can you comment on what the Spotlight banner will mean for the MCU?
Certainly. So, Spotlight is going to be this area of the MCU where stories can exist in a vacuum for characters that do have greater continuity within the overall narrative of the MCU. So, for Echo, that would mean this is a show that exists on its own. It's not bogged down by the this and that of the multiverse saga. However, it is going to. There are aspects of it that could present themselves later down the line in the overarching narrative that people won't be confused about when they pop up. Mostly, I think that that's going to just be the characters themselves. And it might be that someone that's been a big part of this, like the multiverse thing. For instance, like Tom Holland is supposed to be a big factor in the multiverse going forward, and it might be that they're dealing with some street level threat while he's dealing with an existential threat, and Echo, comes on the scene and he's like, "Hey, don't know who you are, but this is what's going on. Can you handle this?" And if you've watched Echo, oh man, Echo kicks butt. This is going to be fun. You know what I mean? It's one of those sorts of deals, I guess.
So are you saying that people there could be some connections, but that the connections are not going to be a focus, or you think there'll be less connections?
I think that there definitely will be less connections, and I don't think that the connections themselves to the overarching narrative are the focus. I think the big takeaway with Marvel Spotlight is that these stories exist on their own in a vacuum, but the same actors that are portraying these characters can pop up in the big boy stuff, if you
Mhm.
will.
This is such an interesting shift here. I love what you've said because it reminds me of the olden days, back when Agents of Shield was on ABC, and they were so insistent. No, this is all linking up. This is just another part of the giant MCU. But looking back, I mean, they did get Samuel L. Jackson on the show. They did have an episode that was set in the aftermath of Thor: The Dark World, and obviously when Winter Soldier came out, there were these stories. Actually, this indicates how not connected they were. Apparently, Collider still has this video up somewhere. Steve Weintraub is there and taking questions from an audience, and the Russo brothers who directed Winter Soldier, they were directly asked, and I think the guy was in a Captain America costume when he asked the question, "How do you guys do this to where Winter Soldier comes out on a Friday, and then the following Tuesday you've got this going on where Shield is destroyed the next day?" And he said, "Well, actually." And he seems to indicate that there was a producer's screening of Winter Soldier where the higher ups at Agents of Shield, which I would seem to think that this is maybe not Joss Whedon, because Joss Whedon would have known. Joss Whedon is on the record as saying he was surprised that Agents of Shield brought Phil Coulson back. That they saw Winter Soldier and that they all quietly shuffled out of the screening room after it was done with their heads kind of low, trying to figure out what they were going to do with their show called Agents of Shield when Shield had just been destroyed.
Yeah,
So back in that day, there was
I
a there,
remember.
there was a hashtag It's All Connected. So the
Yep.
and Agents of Shield, I watched every episode. There are things that I like about it. I love Clark Gregg, and that show always kind of struggled to find its footing, but it was still kind of campy fun. Reminded me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They killed Clark Gregg's character like 7 times and brought him back in different ways. Um,
Yeah.
Hilarious and awesome and campy, but also maybe not the grade A like Prestige TV. More of the Prestige TV would be like what they did on Netflix,
Hmm.
where they were still kind of trying to insist that no, this is all connected with these street
Yeah.
level heroes. They didn't say the name Thor, but they did say the guy with the hammer.
Yeah, and the big green guy, if I'm not mistaken, in the first season of Daredevil, and there's like the newspaper in the background that has the the
Yes.
New York incident
Yeah, the
and all of
Battle of
that.
Harlem. I was doing deep dives at the time, so I was on I was on the forefront of the Incredible Hulk is not canon argument there, which makes more sense now, although it's obviously more connected now than it ever was because
Sure.
Kevin Feige likes to collect these little pieces. Uh, it's fascinating to watch
It
all
is.
that come together. But what's funny is I think that Echo is trying to remind everyone of Daredevil, not just Daredevil the character, but
Mhm.
Daredevil the series, and trying to say it's like Daredevil's level of continuity. But at the time, Daredevil was marketed as, oh yeah, you could have anyone from the MCU showing up in this dark and gritty Netflix series. So
Yeah.
am I crazy? Is this before Born Again comes out? They're trying very hard to reset people's minds to say, no, no, we're just going to have a good story.
Yeah, I don't think you're crazy. I think that that is certainly a piece of it. There are rumors that like Silver Surfer is going to end up existing in this Marvel Spotlight thing as well, right? Which I think is going to predate the Fantastic Four film that they're doing. So I don't know. I think that you've got a situation here where Marvel's probably been looking at the the past, however many odd seasons of shows that they've put out and looking at numbers and all of these things that you guys cover so greatly and saying, okay, maybe it's time to take a risk again, shift gears a little bit. And Echo in Hawkeye, nothing about the character to me said this is a dark, violent character that means business and will put you down if need be. I more got the sense that it was like like for lack of a better like phrase or whatever, and please don't light me up for this. It's like the girl boss, of Hawkeye. It's like the anti
Right.
girl boss of Hawkeye to Kate Bishop, right?
Right.
And that was sort of
There is a place for a girl boss. It's just the hashtag girl boss that gives you an eye roll. There
oh yeah.
is for every negative trope that is out there. There is the version of it that is ideal and works well. She is brooding and she's going through a lot. She found
Mhm.
out that her adopted father is the murderous king of New York who also killed her father. So she's got a lot to
Crazy.
go through there. Now,
Yeah.
I personally didn't connect with Echo, so I love that. I think we come from two different perspectives on this show. I personally don't have a lot of hope for Echo. In the violence, I've seen some people react very positively to the idea that there's violence here, and that sorry, that sounds so dismissive. That they're actually going to go for gritty stuff. That there's going to be
Yeah.
actual stakes in a Marvel show for once, because somebody might die and they probably won't come back to life. Oh my, the somersaults that they've gone through recently. So I want to give you the last word here. What are your thoughts on what do you think we can expect from Echo here come January?
Yeah, I truthfully, the camp that I would probably put myself in that camp. That's just like, I love this stuff. I've got Marvel tattooed all over my leg. It's something that I've connected with ever since I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, and when the MCU stuff started coming out, it's something that I love. So the past like 5, 6 years have been really sad for me personally, and I'm excited that this looks like a a similar vibe to the things that I loved about the Netflix shows with Daredevil and Punisher specifically. It looks very much in that vein, although she definitely looks like she is the focus of this show, which I also love. Daredevil is going to be in it. That's not a secret. It's not a spoiler. He's right in the trailer.
Yeah,
I think all this is. I think that's really cool. I think it's going to set up Born Again to maybe like hush hush the naysayers on, oh, they're just gonna, campify Daredevil now, and he's not going to have the same level of like visceral violence that he had
right.
on
And just
Netflix.
to be clear, Deadline and Hollywood Reporter and all of them are reporting that the original writers are now attached to the show, and they're calling it a page one rewrite of Daredevil. So it'll
Yeah,
probably be a while before we get it, but we are. It does sound like we're going to get a Daredevil show that should be more like the original. Now
yeah,
that being said, with the ability to connect it to the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. Might not be bad. Um, I might also get a little bit of blowback when I say this. I actually really liked the episode of She-Hulk that had Charlie Cox in it. I thought that was the best episode of easily the best episode of the series.
Same.
But also, you have Charlie Cox and Tatiana Maslany. They actually have some charisma on screen, and as much as I cringe at some of the dialogue from Tatiana Maslany's character of She-Hulk, I do think that she is charming in a lot of that series. They just didn't give her a lot to do that was fun to watch. So, obviously, Ekko's coming up here in a little bit. John, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me. Cine Park Rangers is my YouTube channel. We talk all things movies and theme parks. We're at 69 subscribers. We are a baby channel for anyone watching this. If you would like to subscribe, we would love it very much. But yeah,
everybody go over here. Cine Park Rangers. I need to pronounce it like you pronounce it. Right here, you're talking about the Haunted Mansion and also Universal coming after Disney. Yes. That's absolutely true. We're going to be talking about that on That Park Plays Live tomorrow. Everybody head over to Cine Park Rangers and go give John a follow. He does great work. I love his segments that he does for That Park Place's daily countdown. We didn't get to do one today just because things are hitting heavy here near the holidays. I expect Disney to take a week off, but every time we say that out loud, something new happens, like a giant audit. So everybody, please go check out Cine Park Rangers. I see I already mispronounced it again. Thank you so much for being a part of this video today. And everybody out there that's watching, like this video if you like this video. If you are excited about Ekko, I would love to know. If you want to back me up and say that you hate Ekko and everything about it before you've even seen it, maybe drop a comment. I don't know. I do love the comments. They're always amazing. Share this out on social media if you know anybody who might be interested in what we're talking about. And of course, subscribe to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.